All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get the meeting started. We'll start with introductions and then the way policy committees usually run. If a policy has gone out for parent feedback, we go over their feedback and we make changes and make sure everything's what it needs to be on the policy. And then when that's done, we move on to the next policy at hand. So I'm Michelle Thompson. I'm a trustee, grandmother, parent of graduates of Lakeland.
I'm James White. I have a daughter and 2 stepsons in the Lakeland School District.
Amanda Leach, kindergarten teacher at Garwood.
I'm Lacey. I work at Twin and I have 3 kiddos in the district.
I'm Jacqueline Myers. I've got 3 kids in the district.
Melanie Spicer, art teacher at Twin Lakes Elementary.
Aubrey Kennington, kinder teacher at Twin Lakes Elementary.
Erica Bowden, kindergarten teacher at Twin Lakes Elementary.
Kaylee Sloan, 2nd grade teacher at Twin Lakes Elementary.
Rachel Bernardi, 2nd grade teacher at Spirit Lake Elementary.
Janelle Dexter, librarian at Lakeland Middle School.
Reagan New, 6th grade English at Lakeland Middle School.
Tiffany Young, I'm the district test coordinator, and I have 2 adult children who went all the way through Lakeland.
Sarah Longstreet, parent of a graduate from Timberlake and a soon-to-be graduate from Lakeland, and I teach 3rd grade at Garwood.
Amanda Marshall, graduate from Lakeland, 2 kiddos at Lakeland, and I work at Garwood.
Wendy Ziesmer, Garwood Library.
Shonda Heacock, social studies teacher and community member.
Colleen Atterbury, I have 2 kids in the district and I work at Spirit Lake Elementary.
Shannon Ryder, I have 2 kids in the district and I work at Timberlake Middle School and High School.
Melanie Worth, I am the librarian at Timberlake Middle School.
Jennifer Emery, 8th grade history at Timberlake Middle School.
Shannon Hall, English at Lakeland High School.
Anna Hostetler, 4th grade at Betty Kiefer. I have a graduate from Lakeland and a sophomore.
Shannon LaFontaine, assistant principal, Lakeland High School.
Betty Kiefer, LP, and I have 2 graduates.
Lynn Pasley, 2 graduates from Timberlake and a soon-to-be graduate in like 6 weeks.
Lisa Arnold, I have 2 Lakeland High School graduates. I am a patron and the superintendent.
And Maria Parker, and I have a 1st grader at Garwood.
All right. There won't be a test, so let's go to the survey results for 2580. So we were able to get through that. We had input from staff.
I just want to point out that I 100% agree with number 6. We go over some of our comments. Snakes are gross.
Got it. Okay. So
I just love that comment.
It's
so random. Anything else is for sure.
That way we should be able to read all the results. Okay.
There aren't very many.
So here's some good points. I suppose what they're asking, could those be answered under administrative protocol?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect.
Really good questions, though.
Yeah, very good.
Just thinking through the process. And I did get 2 different pieces of feedback from 2 different science teachers, so that's right above that.
Okay, because we put that in last week.
Those, their comments?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
The
think...
mammals and all that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that got put in, and then it got also added to the form.
Okay.
And the procedure to both. Let's open those both because I don't want to...
Was it the lower life form?
Okay. Yeah. That one. So here they're saying not 2 parents. I don't know that there's a requirement to have 2 parents, but I suppose they can both sign.
No, it does say if only one parent signs this form at the bottom. What was
Maybe
that?
they just didn't read that next part.
Certified that they have full authority.
Okay. So then does anyone see a problem with having the 2 parent signatures? Okay. And then the procedures.
Michelle, on that one? Sorry, I do.
No.
I don't know that we consistently require 2 parent signatures on pretty much anything else that we've signed a waiver for. So it might be overkill, just in my opinion.
Alright.
I think 1 parent would be fine.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. I don't ever sign, like when we sign stuff for my kids, it's just me or them.
Right. Well, it came with 2 signatures on the form from ISB.
Yeah.
So, do we want to remove the second signature line?
I think so.
The only situation I can see that actually being relevant in is if separated parents have different religious beliefs and it comes to animal handling, but that bottom line there covers that already, so.
So do you think it should stay in?
I don't think it is important to alter the form.
Okay. Any input, thoughts on that?
It just requires that they put their signature the second time.
I mean, I know many parents that it's just the kid brings it home and gives it to the first person they see, and so I think it's pretty it's less likely that you're even going to actually get 2 signatures, and it's going to be more of a headache to going, oh, you didn't get that second signature, do you like?
Well, I don't think
because most people aren't going to read all the way down to that last part. Like, too many people just sign and go on.
Okay.
Could you do just 1 signature and then, like, at the bottom of something, by signing this, I have full authority or whatever, so it just says it on the bottom without having to write your name twice?
Yeah.
I would think that the assumption is that if they're signing as parent guardian, they have the authority to make the decision.
Yeah.
So I think that if we get too deep into that, you're talking about needing to view their divorce decree and everything else. I mean,
yeah.
So that's my only concern when you start getting in the weeds on that a little bit, is that then we really kind of have to examine how we approach every other thing that we have signed. So that's just my...
So we could just keep it as a note that says, if only 1 parent guardian signs this form, you're stating you have full authority to sign and consent.
Yes.
So it's a note, and
I think that makes sense.
But they don't have to write their name again. Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's... Oh wait, no, this is the... would be to run it up so it's just 1 straight note. Perfect. Got that. What? I just lined it out so that it can be seen what was there, and then when it comes to the actual format, you'll just bring it up. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to line out the other 2 signature lines as well, or is that?
What do you mean?
The note is saying if only 1 parent signs it.
we're gonna leave both
Oh, okay,
signature
okay,
lines,
got
but then the notes just saying if only one person signs it, then you're just saying you have full authority.
Perfect, okay. thank you.
Yeah. So that way nobody has to follow up with anything and it's a done deal with, as long as there's a signature on it. Over here. Okay.
Can we see the full text of those? Text wrap?
What's that?
The text wrap, so we can see those full comments.
Oh, I hate when it does that. I don't know.
It always does that with new entries later.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
annoying.
Yeah.
Right now.
And then let me know when to refresh this.
It's done.
Oh, there we are. Didn't even have to do that. A few minutes. My comments. Scrutiny. Okie doke. Well, people are entitled to their opinions. Procedure. Okay. So is everyone good with, do we think we need any other corrections or modifications or changes? Okay. So then those three can go to the board. Okay. All right, next up is policy 2500. I'm curious, what is this draft?
That was what I took to you guys last month and just when we thought this bill was coming, so I just added it in there as a reference, like
Okay.
so that if we change policy, we change it in here. If we're gonna, that's kind of an overview.
Okay, so.
Like, do we have any more copies? Just because they give us the one that I feel like we're gonna be looking at. Is there a way to have more copies?
Yeah, we can, they can have these copies. Why don't you make extras, I guess, of the same?
Okay, because I have them.
Thank you.
I can make this
Because I don't know if any of those have. I'm gonna pass this down with the ones I just handed in.
This is what I showed you, and base that were at this house bills. So that's more for just procedural piece, but I just wanted to get.
This one's the procedural piece?
Kind of. Perfect. It encompasses all of it, and I showed it to you guys like last month.
Okay.
But we couldn't finalize anything. But it was like with that.
Okay, so if we start working down the bill, do you want to point out what is and what isn't in alignment with the policy, or with the statute? Okay. So we'll wait for Maria to come back with those copies before we get started.
And just to rush you doing that, just so you know,
No, this is when they were talking about
I was going to put 25 now they combine 2520 and 2540. So I have it on here as 2520 because that's what we called it. But when you go on there, if you look at the draft
of 2520.
So you'll see it says formally now, and they do different. It's hard 2540.
Oh, okay.
Or not.
Okay.
So I just put it as 2520.
Okay.
And if you look on our website, we do have 2520.
Is she?
But it's because they call it 2540.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
So what we've done in the past on that is whatever, like if we would bring the 40 also, so that we can strike through the whole thing and just, so that the board sees that we would be taking down a policy. And then in the new little memo that I need to produce, we would let them know that this one's been merged with, or 2540's been merged with 2520.
So what I did say to Maria, and you can look at what I do, and if you guys want to do your own thing, but I kind of do that for the staff already, of just here's the one that we're approving, these are kind of the changes. Maria and I can work on that. So what I send out is exactly what you post. I just do it after the agenda. It's been approved by you guys, but you can work on it before. And I just go over what has changed from the old to the new. That's all I do.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can look at it and see if it's something that way, or we can do a 2-in-1. I already do that, but Maria and I can do it side by side.
Okay.
Unless you have a different system.
I just go through my head about what did we talk about, where were we at, and what do I need to make sure they're aware of. So.
Yeah, see, I do something like this. I just send out and then if there's been changes, I will know, like, this is a key, or you need to read this, and like, so I can add more detail, but we could do something like that where it just gives a little narrative of what's changed. I already do this.
Okay.
To simplify so it's not more clerical. But you guys can obviously decide if that's what you want to do. But
sure. Okay, but don't pay 2520 yet. We need to make it through 2500 first. Just waiting on the calls.
Is it really great?
Okay, so in starting with the first paragraph, just states that the Lakeland Joint School District recognizes the importance of the school library and assumes the responsibility of providing the library facilities, instructional materials, and equipment needed to support the entire curriculum of the schools. It shall be the policy of the Lakeland Joint School District Board of Trustees to maintain a comprehensive district-wide school library program, recognize the instructional and administrative functions of the school librarian, and support his/her leadership role in the administration of the school library and the selection of materials therein. Charge the school library with the responsibility for building and maintaining an adequate and viable collection of materials. Charge the school library with that?
Librarian maybe is what.
Oh, was it not? Because last week we went through some of this.
Did
and
we?
I feel like we changed some of it, but there was an issue with, it was under somebody else's account.
Yeah, you handwrote them.
It got timed out, I think,
Oh.
on your
Jesse
login,
was
right?
the recorder.
No, it got timed out on whoever was logged in, and then Jessica couldn't. You're right. We did go through this.
There were notes on.
There were notes.
No, that's okay. I was looking at that, I'm like, I feel like, okay.
Do you remember what we talked about?
We did talk about number 4.
Okay.
Quite a bit. No, thinking about did we need that, and then we ended up deciding it wasn't a problem to include that.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
A lot
I
of
think that we
conversations.
were also
Yeah.
talking about, like, there was a form and how that actually looked to have, we were talking about having
Right.
a way for a community member, like, who wasn't a parent, like what their approach would be to
Right.
question the appropriateness of materials.
Right.
We wanted to change where it said any individual on the back may challenge the selection to.
Right.
We talked about how it should be somebody at least living in the district, so.
Right.
From Missouri
Okay,
and whatnot.
yeah, totally remember all of this, and it's all in the paperwork in my office. So, because we typically are able to make changes and we
Yeah,
couldn't.
small group last week, so I guess we can also
Yeah.
just discuss this a larger.
Can I just add something to this? So there's 4 of these, and there's a lot of overlapping, and so in the law, like, it gives really specific, like somehow we have to decide which ones when you look at all the titles. So you have selection of library materials, you have just library materials, you have selection, adoption, and removal of curricular learning materials, review and reconsideration. Like we have to include all the definitions that are now part of law. There's a whole process about the committee. There's a form that we're like they give really. So we just have to decide which one we're putting it in because they could go in pretty much all of them. So just we're gonna have to really make sure that it's universal within the 4 policies because they have a little subsection, but the law goes in great detail.
So we could probably work through this one again and then just start taking steps because we couldn't go anywhere last week. So even though everyone that was here knew that legislation was coming down the road, we just sort of thought, well, maybe. Okay. So maintain a comprehensive district-wide school library program. Recognize the instructional and administrative functions of the school librarian and support his or her leadership role in the administration of the school library and the selection of materials therein. Okay. So charge the school. This really should be, I mean, is it the librarian? Because it doesn't make sense to charge the library with the responsibility. It seems like it would be the librarian. Okay. With the responsibility for building and maintaining an adequate and viable collection of materials.
What does that actually mean?
Have no idea because those words are completely subjective.
Maybe this is where we include the definition.
Well, usually we have a definition portion on the policy. So I don't know if the statute is going to define adequate and viable.
It doesn't.
Okay.
No, the definitions are all what is harmful to minors is what they're defining.
Just remove adequate and viable and
collection of materials.
Could you put age appropriate?
Comprehensive.
Our librarians have done a good job of making sure that we don't have young adults books in our elementary schools. We don't have adult books in our middle schools. So could we use age appropriate?
I think we should use age appropriate.
Okay.
What does that look like, just out of curiosity, for high school with seniors? And I mean, they are, I don't know. There's a lot of adult books that I think high schoolers should have access to.
And we do have some in the high school that are adult books, but we don't have any below high school level. And the adult books that are in the high school have been thoroughly going through a very thorough vetting process to make sure that they're age appropriate. So even though they're adult.
So that would still be, okay. I guess thinking about that definition, it just kind of concerned me, thinking the librarians knowing.
So you're defining it more as adult reading level, or is it something that?
It's
a combination of both.
It's probably a combination of both. But there are some adult books like Mary Higgins Clark. Puts 0, 6, language, elementary. So that would be
I conform to the district. Conform to district.
What's the definition of that? Wonder. I'm not trying to complicate it. I'm just trying to think out loud and thinking of
district guidelines.
Yeah.
So would that seem more directional, that they are with the responsibility for building and maintaining a collection of materials that conform to district guidelines and policies, or that conform with, maybe not to.
Can we change conform to adhere?
Oh, there's a good word. Well, adhere to, yep. Okay.
So then later we will be defining what age appropriate would mean? Is that what we're thinking?
I haven't put age appropriate in, but I just, because, well, I don't know. I mean,
well, when you look at a book, it will tell you which age for which age it's appropriate, and it
Interest
will,
levels, yes.
and it will say, you know, we just were looking at Holes, which is a 5th through 8th grade book, considered an MG plus. What is MG?
Middle grade.
Thank you. So they are
They're already
defined that way.
And we did
It's not
ask
up for
all the
interpretation.
librarians to move books if it's not within the grade band, so K-5 is supposed to only have K-5, middle school is supposed to have middle school, so.
But we did make allowances for certain grade levels, so like middle, like elementary can have middle grade, which is like the whole could be is just 5 through 8, which is okay to have in those upper grades. So like in the same in the middle schools where we have some, but we vet those and make sure that they are appropriate.
That's why I'd be concerned if they weren't being challenged.
Okay.
All the students who need to be challenged above that age level.
Yes. Yeah, we have those for those access
So
to.
since materials are selected to provide for the interests and needs of the entire school population, they shall be selected cooperatively by the principal, the teachers, and the librarians. With the approval of the superintendent and the board. Selection will be carried out with the aid of recognized authoritative critical review. Do we define that? Critical review sources and according to administratively adopted guidelines for the review and selection of library materials. That's a lot of words.
That's a little.
Yeah, it seems like we could take that middle part out and then have just the administratively adopted guidelines for the review and selection of library material. Like selection will be carried out according to administrative.
Okay, where were you? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So taking out that middle sentence?
Yeah, so like selections will be carried out and then just according to.
Not that part.
Oh, no.
I think she's down.
So after,
Where it says
three
selection
minor.
will, she's just taking out the aid of recognized authoritative critical review sources and just going to, will be carried out according to administratively adopted guidelines.
there you go.
Is there any chance that we could get this TV on to also see it? Or either? That would be
2020, but still.
Thank you.
I feel like it's worse.
But it actually didn't realize it wasn't on.
You're smarter than that stuff.
There's that responsibility.
Alright, so I don't like how this sentence is since materials, so if we just make it materials will be selected to provide for the interests and needs of the entire school population, period. I just, these are really long, wordy sentences.
It seems to me that the selected cooperatively with approval should probably show up in the administratively adopted guidelines for review and selection of materials, so it could be redundant.
Okay. So are you suggesting it be taken out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We'll just make sure that that language is in the guidelines.
Where are the guidelines? Do we
The
have
ones
them up
that we're
here?
gonna put together that say
Oh,
according to
okay.
administratively adopted guidelines right there.
Sounds great.
I think it would be my draft.
Yeah, Lynn's draft that she's
Okay.
got up there.
Entire population selections will be carried out according to administratively adopted guidelines for the review and selection of library materials. Encourage, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but
And
back to 3.
You can always just shout out because
Oh,
I don't
okay.
always see people.
Okay, so on 3 and 5, they both have that word charge. I'm just wondering if it could be changed to entrust rather than charge.
Okay.
I like that, that's a good one.
It sounds better to
It
me.
does.
I'm like, that just, I don't like that
Kind of
wording.
has a negative connotation.
It does. I'm like, oh, that sounds great.
Okay. And it's okay just to shout it out, seriously.
Okay.
I get it, but yeah, please. All right.
Same on number 5 as well.
Yeah.
I think I'll do this. Okay, so 4 is encourage cooperation between the school librarians and other librarians in the community for the fullest utilization of all available information sources. Yeah, we pondered this a lot because we just decided that it had to do with like Rathrum Library or other community libraries. Okay.
And I think we changed the word encourage to something that's just like less, not forceful, but like it was a word that was just like collaborate or something like that. Instead, we're not so pushing it, but
Support, yeah, instead of encourage.
yeah.
Or support collaboration. We did talk about collaboration.
Yeah, I remember collaboration. Yeah. So let's try this. Support collaboration between the school librarians and other librarians in the community for the fullest utilization of all available information and resources.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Entrust the school librarian to receive and process requests from school patrons for review of any library materials, provided that the request is submitted in an established written form. The material in question will then be reviewed by the librarian, the principal, and the superintendent for a determination of its educational value. If the question remains unresolved, the superintendent shall present the findings to the board for final disposition. We did go over this paragraph.
So we, in the draft that Lynn put together, we do define a library book review committee, and it includes teachers, administrators, librarians, and community members.
No. There it is. Okay.
Right there in 1A.
Does this committee exist already here?
No.
No, got it.
This was based on the draft of the law that we thought was coming. The one that was actually signed into law doesn't require the committee. It previously had that language in there, but we think it's good practice.
Mm-hmm.
So
are we going to have a committee?
yeah, that would, yes, we're gonna bring
Okay.
this to the board for,
Okay.
but that would be our recommendation.
Okay, so then would we be entrusting the librarian with this, or would it then be entrusted to the library review committee?
I would say that first sentence is good because when a patron is submitting a request for a review of library materials, the request goes to the librarian.
Okay.
But then the material in question will then be reviewed by the district library review committee, which will include, if you want to put that in there.
Okay.
Before the principal?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
when that would happen?
The administrator's part of the committee.
Mm-hmm. So the committee, I'm just thinking like if it would happen at one school
Or,
that.
well, it may not be Jake who's reviewing it, but we'll have the administrators.
Okay. Some administrator would be represented.
Would this committee only, like, meet if there was a concern?
Right now, this draft actually, Reagan, says that the process for selecting new library books also would go through this committee, so that we just make sure that everybody's comfortable with what we're putting in the library.
Okay.
So it goes straight to the committee before the librarian. The librarian it's not the same chain of command at all then, just to make sure I'm understanding.
What do you mean?
Well, what the chain, I mean,
For the
chain of
review?
command, that's how I'm thinking of
For
it,
the
like
review of-
librarian, yeah. Librarian
I
and
just don't want to
principal.
put that, especially because the law now has a $250 fine in it, so I do not want to put that on one person. The librarian is absolutely part of the committee.
But it may be a different librarian, same thing, yeah.
Yeah, I just think we need to create a system where if we're not asking one person to make a decision that somebody may not agree with, and then we put people in a bad place.
Are we going to be establishing a written form for review of items?
Actually, Melanie and Janelle helped me. They built a few and we put some of the samples in here.
Okay. So they're gonna get the complaint and then they will pass the material in question with the complaint to the library review committee. So then we have if question remains unresolved.
So the way I wrote it, and again, this was, it was based on this law, but they've taken out some of the pieces. There's been a few iterations. Was that the library review committee would give a recommendation to the board, and then the board is making that decision when there's been a challenge or there's a question about deselecting a book that maybe had already been selected, type of a thing. So that's how I wrote it. I mean, we can obviously put what we want in there, but
So if the committee does not come to an agreement, like a jury,
then you're presenting that to the board.
Mm-hmm. With all of
Well, isn't it presented either way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
But I
either
meant
be
just the
presented
board
to you
would make the
as
final decision.
this is recommended, or we could.
Or
We're at an impasse kind of a thing.
And so then they would be the final decision.
Will the library review committee be anonymous?
I think we'd have to meet and have a discussion, so I don't think so.
I meant like when presenting to the board, because is it going to be the same people every single time?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it depends on the
Shall we
way
take out the
books
handout?
are being challenged.
And then do 2 sentences.
We
I
might need
would've
to have maybe we have an elementary library review committee and a secondary, but I would think you'd want the same people on there at least for a year's commitment, so there's some consistency. Otherwise you have different groups of people looking at things in different ways.
And if we, provide the recommendation, I mean, I can stand that there, if people don't want to do it, and just say this is what in the dialogue and the context, but,
If you're presenting something to the board for the final approval, would it be a recommendation instead of decision?
Yeah, it would be a recommendation.
How does that work when it does come down to a fine?
Well, the way the law reads is we can be fined if they provide the request for consideration of review and we don't do anything with it.
30 days.
We have 30 days to make a
I thought it
decision.
said 60. It's 60.
Oh, yeah, you're right, 60 days.
60?
But there's no decision made in 60 days. Okay.
And the decision could be that we're going to allow the book to stay, but we're going to move it out of the picture book section in the elementary library to the chapter book section because it's not appropriate or whatever. That's the way the law reads. I mean, it's a little bit more clear when you're talking high school that maybe there's a book that's appropriate at the high school level, but only for your 17, 18-year-olds, and so it's in a separate section that only they can access. I would think if we had such a situation, we just wouldn't have that book, but that's the way the law reads. You have to do something or be able to present why you disagree based on the definitions from the state.
And it's not I was reading the bill the other day, it's not an automatic $250 fine, right? They have to go through this.
As long as we do something about the request, then we're covered. Yeah.
The original one, it was automatic.
Well, it used to be 2,500.
Yeah.
And then every time it'd been checked out.
And it's actually now 30 days. We have 30 days in this.
Oh, I read 60.
No, it's upon receipt of written notice. Yeah, and subsequent to the expiration of the 30 days.
Probably quiet. It seemed like we might have something to say.
Oh, it's nothing we can fix here is the laws.
But I think it's really easy to hit the 30 days because if we had a parent request a review, if I were the librarian, I would pull the book until we have a decision. So right away we've taken care of the parent's concern until the board has a chance to weigh in. So.
Hope we have books left.
And we decided to strike that paragraph, correct? Or did we reword it? I know there was, I don't
We talked
know.
about with because the library bill of rights, we talked about, is that something that we need to make sure we have legally in there? I don't know, right?
I don't know. Additionally, the district library is
We didn't have
adhere to all.
Linda answer our legal questions.
Is that a legally binding document?
Yeah, that's what we talked about. Is it something we have to include? Because then we did talk about FERPA. We may have to.
There's some, we just got
That's
something
one of my
actually.
concerns is, are they gonna just be able to complain about the book every month? And just keep it constantly wasted everybody's time? Well, I'm just saying, if Dan and his dog has a book and somebody doesn't like it because there's a picture in the background they don't like, for whatever reason, are they gonna be able to every month request it against their name and waste their time?
The same book repeatedly.
Yeah.
Once it's
decided on one,
it might have been interesting once the book is reviewed.
I have no idea. I haven't. Okay, so I think last week when we read this paragraph, there was a lot of talk because it seemed like, I don't know if it was heavy-handed, awkward, whatever, but we felt that it really wasn't policy promoting. It was just, more informative of. Okay.
We did discuss because of the second paragraph about the sectarian.
Right, because we will.
That definition.
Yeah, we did.
But it was pursuant to state law. I think at the end of it we were just some generic they're gonna follow all the applicable laws and regulations. We didn't need to necessarily list it all out.
Yeah. They're located.
I think we include to have our ducks in a row for legal purposes.
Yeah, additionally, the district school libraries adhere to all district policies and applicable laws or something
And this would be a place where you could reference the new House bill, and then this is where the next line says pursuant to state law, the board has the duty, and then it goes on to talk about suitable library to exclude therein.
Right, where are you at? Sorry.
Wait
here. Okay.
You could reference the law here, and you could actually put in some of the definitions there if you wanted to, just to.
Well, we usually will put the definitions at they're either at the very top or the very bottom. So we should probably figure out where we want to put them.
You might be able to move that whole paragraph to the bottom.
Okay. The duty and the responsibility to equip and maintain a suitable library and to exclude.
Michelle, I would propose just taking that out as well, just a blanket all the exclusions and expectations of that law.
Okay.
That would just be what, like, might simplify that a little
Okay.
bit, but I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if there's a reason we need all of that.
Who knows?
It's interesting, there's actually case law that says that we can't exclude. Like, this is the King James Bible. Somebody challenged, it was in the school library, and this court said just because it's in the school doesn't mean the school is
Promoting it.
promoting it.
We had to look up definitions last week, and I think
We did.
the catechisms of sectarian nature were like specific religious. I might need some help on this one, but it was like, but it was like specific religious instruction, it wasn't just the Bible. Like
It wasn't.
It was
Or other
it was
religious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it dealt with,
it was very specific.
yeah, there was a lot of specificity with religion, like
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
okay,
I think the one sentence is.
I like that, that's much better.
okay,
Perfectly clear.
all right. School library and classroom library books are provided primarily for use by district students and staff. Library books may be checked out by either students or staff. Individuals who check out books are responsible for the care and timely return of those materials. The building principal may assess, fines for damaged or unreturned books.
I think we changed that to the librarian was assessing the fines. Is that consistent with
Yes.
what actually happens?
Yes.
Is it-
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, not the principal. Is this where we would,
We did something with these two because
yeah,
it
is
was.
this where we get into classroom libraries? I mean, I guess, because that's a whole
Yeah,
can of
that
worms
was,
that's separate.
that was, yeah, we,
So we started on it, and then I think it was like, oh, it's 6:30, gotta go.
Yeah.
I should have had you transcribe the meeting, then we would know. I meant to tell you and didn't. Okay.
So everywhere else it's talking about school libraries. Should classroom libraries just be a whole separate ball of wax and a separate policy? And because the procedures and everything are different for that right now, right? So
Okay.
like, maybe we shouldn't include classroom libraries in this at all, and that's just a whole different policy that needs to be reassessed.
Created.
Yes, I agree.
Or it doesn't necessarily, well, I don't know if it needs to be a policy.
Maybe an additional paragraph in
But
here.
it might. No, but, because you mentioned adding it, creating it as a policy.
Okay, maybe
But,
that's not.
no. I don't mind if there's a policy, but I'm just wondering if it can be better controlled under procedures or procedural expectations
I have it in my
within.
draft thing to talk about
Okay.
classroom libraries
Okay.
as a procedural piece.
Primarily
I don't think it would
for
change the based on your.
district students.
So on the discretion of the building principal on the non-resident students, is that going to be the building principal or the librarian?
It should be the principal.
The building principal, okay.
Yeah, because they're the ones in charge of deciding who they allow on campus. That's an administrator role.
Students and staff. Ours might be checked out by either vendor. I cannot remember what we did on this one. It was driving me nuts that it was students and staff, students and staff. It's
Yeah, and I mean, there was some consistency stuff in the next two paragraphs that I know we cleaned up, but I don't.
Right,
Check out books.
If you just combine those two sentences and just say students and staff and maybe check out by either.
That's what I think we did. Thank
Maybe we
you.
did combine, we just, and I didn't have anything to
And maybe checked out by either. Okay. Make it simple.
It's my fault.
Okay. district residents or parents, guardians of non-resident students attending the district.
I think we had crossed out the non-resident students. We just did district residents and or parents or guardians of students.
Oh, I think you're right.
Unless that was something we talked about, do we have to have that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since it's a public school, you know.
Right.
Yeah, we just talked about if it was something
May
we
be
were
allowed
required
the
to
use
in public
of
school.
library books at the discretion of the building
Same with any
principal.
individual.
However,
I wonder if in this sentence, this however, such access shall not interfere with regular school use of those books, we also just put a little thing about or school safety or, you know, building security or safety.
So that's what we're
This
talking
one's-
about, like, yeah, like we don't even let a house roam our schools.
Yeah.
but
Right,
We're
right.
definitely not gonna let somebody else just.
Yeah, we
roam
spoke of they
it.
have to check in anyway,
Yeah.
so it's not like they would be able to access the library without them being.
Yeah, and it
because
does
they're
say in the
locked out.
first sentence at building principal's discretion, but if it was just one more little clear statement, like the, we have to have safe, secure schools when students are in session.
Since this was written before we were so secure.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that issue.
You'd be shocked, it's been updated.
Oh, it has.
Sorry. SBA, not us.
Oh, okay.
I just remember I think there was other language too that's not there now. That's why it's tripping me out. Okay, so what are we doing with this paragraph? Because yeah, we don't have people meandering around the buildings just because they can.
Yeah.
Visitor and safety protocols.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, there we go.
Will be
Apply.
will be employed.
People don't know
with
what these policies say, but then when we send them out for survey and stuff, then they're like, sweet, I can go and check.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope they will.
Or if we mix it,
But-
they'll say, why don't you want us to go look in our library?
Well, it's not about, they can come and look in the library if they want to. I would suggest that we don't allow district residents or parents or guardians to check books out of the public school library, because if we become the public library, then our kids don't have access to them.
Well, we have really good.
And we do have a public library. We have one in Rathdrum, we have one in Spirit Lake, and one in Apple.
Well, I think that's what that, as long as it doesn't interfere with regular use of.
I would just not even put it in there. I would rather not.
Okay,
have
so
those.
we have to create accounts for those
That's
right.
If you change the reduce to
That's where we were talking
access.
about the logistical issues of the office and how they create an account. If somebody was gonna, that's what it was.
Could we just do, instead of allowed use, allow access? That way it's saying they can look at them.
Sure, same wavelength.
Access to, yeah.
But they can't check them out.
A school library is for those students,
After creating
not
accounts.
their parents and
Oh,
whoever else.
And then that's why we really
Any,
fight
you
to
don't
the
know
next
what.
paragraph.
So we're letting them know they have access to the books, but it's not going to interfere with school.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And any individual, we really struggle.
Yeah, that had to be the district thing because the prior language was limited very specifically to district residents. So that has to be
Right.
district residents may challenge, because you don't need somebody from, Ohio being like, well, I heard you got this book in your library. They have no vested interest. in it.
Right,
So it needs
right.
to be.
Or even Coeur d'Alene.
So you're saying
Yeah.
any district resident may challenge?
Relevant stakeholder?
A patron.
Yeah, patron.
A patron,
Yeah.
because if they're out of district, but they are zone transferred, we
Yeah.
spoke of that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
Isn't
thing.
this little paragraph better set with number 5? Where we're talking about challenges to the.
We talk about that, this top 5, or what
From school
the
patrons.
board's duties are, like how the school board sets the library, and the rest of this is just kind of how the structure. 'Cause we-
So if we take school out there then they're in alignment. So patron. For the library. Oh, yeah.
Does it need to be district?
It's the first time we mention media center, so we take that out.
I don't know how you feel about this, and I know we can be more restricted than the law, but just so you all know, the law only says, any minor, parent, or legal guardian who brings, if it doesn't say district patron, it's very specific about who can bring forward a request for review with that $250 fine.
I say we match the laws language.
Absolutely.
We don't want to open it up anymore.
Okay, so.
I have a question on that, Lisa.
Yeah.
So,
Where are you?
Sorry. I'm so short. I think that, you know, when we, especially as we, you know, ask our community for levy approval and such, I think that we should also be respectful of giving them a voice, but is there a way to like, with respect to the law that, and the fine and that process, that's only limited to what the law requires, but still give the community, our voters, a way to, you know, if it's a grandma or the babysitter or, you know, something like, hey, you know, Jimmy brought home this book and I just really question if this is appropriate in our libraries. I still give them a way outside of the whole process that incurs the fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I started that statement. We can be more restrictive, we can't be less restrictive. So the law only calls out those 3 individuals for the fine. We can do whatever we want with regard to giving the ability to any of our patrons to ask to have a book reviewed. I mean, that's happening now. We have a lot of, and we have a lot of patrons who are helping review curriculum and who don't have kids, but they care about what happens to the kids in the district. So
I think there's just vested interest outside of just parents and guardians. Be my thought on that.
Yeah, I just think the more you open it up, the more chances we have of that $250 fine being there, and I think I would caution us for that.
Yeah.
Because
The work.
In the law, right? So
And
it
that's
couldn't
why I
be fine
say
if
we
it wasn't
go
raised
with
by a
the-
parent.
That's why I say we just match the law.
I agree. We should match the law.
Match the law.
We can have a list of books that, you know, digitally somewhere that any patron can look at and decide to
well, they're all listed.
talk
You
to.
can go on our website and go into Destiny and they can look at any title they want. So.
Yeah, and then they can bring it up, but not in the,
Ask for it to be reviewed.
yeah,
They don't
ask
have
for
to
it to be
physically walk in
reviewed
the library.
without having to come in and
Right.
make a
I
formal
think this is
complaint.
just- I think this is just challenging the selection of materials. So would this not be the process that the policy that would address their ability to challenge that selection? Like, not necessarily even come check it out or whatever, but if somebody had a concern about a book that was listed who was not a parent or guardian, would this be the policy that would address that process for them to challenge if that's, I guess maybe I'm confused about the placement of that, like where that belongs.
Well, this talks about the review and I mean, this is that policy. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're stating what I thought I heard. Entrust the school librarian to receive and process requests from students, parents, custodians, or legal guardians of students, or legal guardians of a student for review of any library material. So those are the only parties that can review.
What would be the
Or
difference
that
between
can-
a custodian and a legal guardian? Just thinking.
There's not much, but our policies often state those 3 categories, so that's why I listed it.
So could it be a grandparent in that regard?
Well, a custodian may not have legal,
A custodian, sure.
a custodian could be a babysitter.
Got it. Okay.
Now, the custodian can't bring suit, but the parent,
True, because
right.
of the law.
But we're at least opening a little door that says, you know, if you've got concerns over what the child you're taking care of has in their hands, then you can ask for the material to be reviewed.
So a community member that doesn't have any of those titles is not, it's not open to them to do this,
Correct.
to review.
So they can see the list. Like, they could go check the book out somewhere else, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
on their own.
Absolutely.
And then there's still a process for them to be able to bring the concerns to the uniform grievance policy to say, hey, I'm concerned that should be.
Well, the uniform grievance policy, I don't know that that's.
I did find it on the website.
Oh, good.
The uniform grievance policy. That's probably something that maybe hasn't reviewed in a while, but it is there.
But this law specifically tells us kind of some steps we have to go through, which might be different than that, but, I guess I would tell you that as the superintendent, if I had, and this has happened, if I had a patron who happens to be concerned about one particular book, looks to see if it's in our schools or not, and finds that it is, and gives me that information, I'm going to do something with them. I'm not going to ignore it. I know they can't legally, based on this policy, they can't fill out the form and ask. But I'm not going to turn a blind eye to that, so.
Can we put that in the policy then, if that's what you would want to do? Because I would think we'd want to be responsive to patrons also.
Yeah, I guess I just don't want to be
I want to invite it.
Negligent a little bit. I guess that's the best word. I'm just thinking, so we had a book in one of our libraries, and I can't remember what it's called, something Boyd. And the whole story was about a teacher who's having a sexual relationship with a child. Why would we have that book in a library, right? So we immediately pulled that book. But that didn't come to me from a patron, a parent, or a guardian, or a student. It came to me from a concerned grandmother who happened to be aware of the name and the title of the book. So I think I don't know. I do feel like we do have a lot of people who care about the district, and we just want to make sure it's safe.
When we're seeking voter support for funding for so many programs, I just don't want our message to be that, but you can't question anything unless you have a kid in our school. Like, I think
we're trying to build trust right now, and when you put up walls and don't allow people to look in, they assume you're hiding something, and
I think that puts us, my own opinion, and I think that puts us in a bad spot. So I don't want to open a can of worms that's, opening to that legal process of the fines, but also just making a statement that they can bring a concern. There is an avenue for them to bring it.
So maybe just one sentence that says that, like, concerns should be addressed this way.
Yeah, directly to the superintendent or something like that.
So then that's not the uniform grievance policy, and I guess that's the other thing, if we leave that in there.
I think my hesitation is that $250 fine isn't where it stops. It starts at $250. They can get damages too, so we could be talking a lot of money. And I know how many books are in our libraries. We're setting on a huge liability. And it's not just one person. It could be everybody here with every book. So how soon until we're bankrupt?
Right. And repeatedly for the same book, once they get hold of the name of it or whatever.
Right. But if they move it forward to the way the law reads, if they move it forward to the prosecuting attorney and they take that case, we would just have to go in with our policies, our procedures, the definitions we use to determine whether this was harmful to children based on state statute. And as long as we're following our policies and they're clear, and we've done our due diligence and we can show why we do not believe it meets the definition, then we are going to be fine. It's if we don't do anything about it, or we're not thorough in our process, or we deviate from our policy.
Can a book be brought, like, say I was to be a concerned parent and come and be like, hey, I'm concerned about this book. You guys are like, oh, nope, it's fine. And then my friend over here is like, hey, I'm also concerned. So even after I brought it to your attention and it went through the process, can someone else come and challenge that too? Or is it like a one and done?
They could certainly submit the form, but then I think at that point we would let them know that if that book has already gone through the process, the recommendation has gone to the board upheld the recommendation. But we could also get clarification from our attorney. I mean, this is all brand new for us, so there's some learning opportunities for everybody.
Well, and I would think though that if the review committee is getting multiple requests for a book, or gets a request and then 2 months down the road gets 3 requests and then 4 months, I mean, that's
At some point, we just
definitely.
need to decide it's not a hill we want to die on.
Or it merits a second look or further discussion as to the validity of why do we have it, what's the purpose of it, what's, you know, how is it being used, etc. Because sometimes if you can clarify that, it can help. So the last paragraph, basically from what it was saying before, in a backwards way, is saying the exact same thing as 5. So do we want to end on that same note again so that we're making sure that the parent understands that they have the right to submit a request to the school librarian, and then the material in question is reviewed by the committee, and then the committee presents its recommendations to the board?
I think so. The reason being is there's a certain number of people that will kind of skim through, but then the end should be kind of like the gripper.
Right. We're not trying to avoid making it very clear to them, this is what you get to do if you've got concerns about any material.
So I have a question on that, and if this law is in place of the $250 fine and the board says, we agree we should keep the book or whatever, who's to say but the parent already, or whoever filled this out, like why would we not get fined then? So we could just always say we agree with our book.
Because what might be really upsetting to somebody, if it doesn't fit the definition of what is harmful to children.
Yeah, it actually would have to fit the definition for sure.
Right,
yes.
that's what I'm saying, is
Right.
sometimes you might have somebody who finds something really offensive, but it doesn't meet any of this.
Yeah, it has to
And
fit
we
this
have,
definition.
we have to be able to.
But if it fits this definition, we should be getting.
Oh, absolutely,
Yes.
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 No, yeah, no, what I'm saying,
Yeah.
there will be, there will be things that don't quite fit the definition that parents are find problematic.
Right.
For sure, if it meets any of those definitions, we recommend to the board that we don't have the book in our library.
Right.
Or it could be, well,
some of it's a little gray to me.
It is gray.
In the beginning here, so some of it I'm like, okay, but this is a little gray, so.
Does legal weigh in on like what this, a lot of it's gray?
Yeah.
Like what happens when there's.
We will, I don't know how soon it'll happen, once, right before that law, around the time the law will go into effect, which will be July, ISBA will try to draft a protocol specific to some guidelines for us. So there will be, and again, how useful that will be, I have no idea, but there will be some guidelines and they will have their legal look at it with some pieces from procedural pieces, what it actually looks like in implementation. They'll look at, potential case law, that type of stuff. So we will get some additional guidance, but that won't, it will be a few months because the law hasn't even gone into effect and he literally, the governor signed it, I think yesterday or the day before, so.
Yeah. And really all of these definitions only pertain to sexual situations. It's not talking about anything else that we might find harmful to kids, but this law is specific to sexual.
So,
when I look at like the definitions, they are not gray at all. It's crystal clear.
I feel like the homosexual part is gray because it says act of homosexuality, and that could mean
the sexual conduct, so I feel like actions will help take place.
But that could be holding hands. That could be so. That's going to be very what's inappropriate, what's appropriate. I think it's very dicey.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, sexual intercourse. It's like this fact that homosexuality is separated from sexual intercourse makes it a whole different ballgame. It should just be, obviously, I'm right in the middle. I get you right in the middle. It should just be sexual intercourse because that covers heterosexuals and homosexuals.
Yes, exactly.
But when it says homosexuality, there's going to be a lot of acts that people are going to be frustrated with that are going to become an issue.
I have a question just on the law number 2 when it talks about nudity. I don't know what our high school health classes look like now, but is this gonna make that, I mean, I just remember what my health class looked like when I was a kid. And it was like black and white, you know, on the, no, I'm just kidding. But
I don't do an opt-in for our health classes, those pieces where they're showing
Yeah, when we
when
get
they have
to
to
human
get to the
sexuality,
body
that's all
parts.
parent.
So the opt-in would override the like, I'm just asking the question if that's something we need to like be really careful
And
of.
we can certainly reach out to our attorney to ask that question.
Because it's in the state standards.
What about in your historical books? Because there's a lot of nudity, there's a lot of elementary. So let's say have a fair amount of kids or something. Dr. Seuss has a fair amount of Holocaust.
No David. No David. Oh, except I drew short.
So do we want to read through this one more time just to make sure where we're at? Okay. So starting back at the top, the Lakeland Joint School District recognizes the importance of the school library and assumes the responsibility for providing the library facilities, instructional materials, and equipment needed to support the entire curriculum of the schools. Shall be the policy of the Lakeland Joint School District Board of Trustees to maintain a comprehensive district-wide school library program, recognize the instructional and administrative functions of the school librarian, and support his or her leadership role in the administration of the school library and the selection of materials therein. Okay, they're just talking. Entrust the school librarian with the responsibility for building and maintaining a collection of age-appropriate materials that adhere to district guidelines and policies. Materials will be selected to provide for the interest and needs of the entire school population. Selection will be carried out according to administratively adopted guidelines for the review and selection of library materials. Support collaboration between the school librarians and other librarians in the community for the fullest utilization of all available information resources. Entrust the school librarian to receive and process requests from students, parents, custodians, or legal guardians of a student for review of any library materials, provided that the request is submitted in an established written form. The material in question will be reviewed by the library review committee, and its recommendation
who will present.
Yeah, and
the committee who will present.
Oh yeah, that's a
who will present its recommendation regarding the library material to the board for review and approval. For review and or approval. School library books are provided primarily for use by students and staff. And may be checked out by either. Individuals who check out books are responsible for the care and timely return of those materials. The librarian may assess fines for damaged or unreturned books. District residents or parents, guardians of students attending the district may be allowed access to library books at the discretion of the building principal. However, such access shall not interfere with regular school use of those books.
Michelle, do you want to cross out the of? You said allowed access to, you have use of, but only use is crossed out right there.
Okay, thank you. Any student, parent, custodian, or legal guardian of a student may challenge the materials within the library by submitting a written request to the school librarian. The material in question will be reviewed by the library review committee and who will present its recommendation regarding the library material to the board for review and or approval.
So would it be a written request or would they fill out the form?
Well, the form is a written request, isn't it?
Is it?
Let's see, what did we say up here?
Written form, in a written form.
Will be submitted in an established written form. That could be a note on a sticky note.
Would it be
Established, no.
on an established?
On the appropriate.
As an established.
Right, the request is submitted
On the district
On the
provided.
district form.
Is it on the district?
I don't know if I would put provided in there.
Okay.
Because we don't want the district to get a million requests for that form from everybody and then have to waste the entire budget on paper.
District approved.
Review material. I've just named it.
Material
Form.
review.
Okay, let's talk about what we want to call the form.
Would it be a library material review instead of review material?
We could be whatever we want it to be. So, by completing a library material review form.
So does this procedure, going straight to a committee, then circumvent the uniform grievance policy that's struck out?
It's in lieu of the.
So,
With fire.
So, material review. Oh wait, submitting.
That's construction material.
No.
Probably my husband.
You can smell the treatment stuff.
We're not supposed to learn that.
I'm aware. You already live in how little takes for it.
I just don't know if that's
It really doesn't burn well. I've tried. It's easier just to bring it to
So,
the
but
dump.
we are off the hook for the $250 fine if we pull the book while it's under review, because then nobody has access to it.
Oh, so we would have longer as long as it's
I will ask our attorney, but you're taking action immediately.
There's
So then, should we state that on here?
So it says prior to the filing of any cause of action, the minor parent or legal guardian has provided written notice to school or public library asking for the relocation of such material to a section designated for adults only within 30 days of receipt. If we pull it, then nobody has access.
We have 30 days.
What page are you on the bill? Or where are you at on the
I
bill?
was reading number 4 under section 2, line 15. Or, sorry, C, line 11.
Does this cover your snow sets?
Oh, wait, no.
Because I'm just wondering.
Oh, primary, so it's being notices asking for the relocation
Third page, right here.
Oh. No, well, that's.
I was on the wrong one. Sorry, I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
The way I understand it is you have 30 days to remove the book,
Right.
but you don't have to make a final decision.
You know, like if I just started.
I guess it really depends on, you know,
If they have any, I
whoever,
mean,
you know, the
we're gonna
librarian
have to
or
really
the
think
principal
through.
has to go in and look at the book, and then they would have to make a
Make sure that they
decision.
don't fall out and only
I feel like that is
So,
that's a concern.
yeah, but, yeah.
Right? I mean,
Well,
are
if
you
we pull it
saying
right
that's
away, if we just pull it right away, we've already done, they can't, just that action makes it so they can't do that, right?
Correct.
The 250.
Because
Because we've already made.
Right. Is it right?
Yeah, what if an entire English class? It's not that we're taking it out of the system yet, we're just pulling it so that the kids don't have access to it.
I would work on that.
But are they going to?
It doesn't say you can just move it to where you have to ask for it instead of where you can just go find it.
I thought the background is not accessible to students.
Yeah, that's all it seems to say. Yeah, it just says you have to
We're
make
just
it.
gonna move it, I was just saying my background. So, an example.
No, I know, I'm just saying because.
If our procedure is to pull it, then that's totally in compliance with this unless we put it back on the shelf.
But if we put it back on the shelf, if we
And I told ours, as soon as I heard it, I told them, put them in our back rooms until I heard what was
Well,
gonna
so I
happen.
think the,
And then they said, okay, we can have one through six
to have like,
what is
it
it
that
in
we're
at
doing?
elementary? So I put one grade back, which
what their
is all
concerns
concerns
are.
anyway, but then
And
other
then
things
what
to
action
the
do
middle
they want
school.
us to take by
Because
removing
they could,
library
because it was
from
normal
this section?
It's in the bathroom though,
Right.
out to the
And maybe on the form, maybe line out the definitions. of
maybe a
what
week or two.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
because all of the librarians broke
Okay,
down. We're like,
so
okay, we're reading
this
1 through 6,
is
you read 6 through
done,
9.
I guess. And we'll move on to 2510, which is selection of library materials. Did you have a nice day today?
Hopefully the decision to.
You weren't there when I brought the boys in late.
Or to just move it.
No, I took the day off.
For it.
I heard.
Actually,
I did. I got stuff done. It wasn't
That would be up to the librarian and the principal.
Okay, so moving on to policy 2510. All right, everyone, we're switching over to 2510.
Okay, coming back together, everybody. Thank you.
I should do the 1, 2, 3 eyes on the computer.
Yeah, there you
Okay. So this is selection of library materials. The district has librarians in every school with, is that true?
Libraries.
Oh, thank you, libraries. We do. I do know that. Somebody wanted them to go away. The district has libraries in every school with the primary objective of implementing and supporting the educational programs in the school.
Programs or program?
Program, the educational program, even though I think we have more than one. The provision of provide a wide variety of library materials at ability, what?
Supports the different school libraries. Yeah, that's a little tough.
This is not a good thing.
Materials at all ability
All right, so.
Libraries provide the library. You say libraries provide the library.
I think we might want to, I'll just strike this all out and figure out what they're trying to do here. Who knows? Oops. All right, so let's make it red and no highlight. All right. We don't need to be bold. Libraries provide faculty and students with materials that enrich and support the curriculum and meet the needs of the students and faculty served. Or provide students with a wide range of educational materials on all levels of difficulty and appealing to a wide range of interests and in a variety of formats with diversity of appeal, allowing for the presentation of many different points of view. Select materials that present various sides of controversial issues, giving students an opportunity to develop analytical skills, resulting in informed decisions. Select materials in all formats, including up-to-date, high-quality, varied literature to develop and strengthen a love of reading. Okay, so ISBA is asking us to pick one or more of the followings. I think this whole thing needs to be just struck, and we'll make our own sentence based on some of their suggested points. So what should it state?
I think all of them. Yeah,
We all bring up different points that all need to be.
Yeah, I like all of them.
Do you think for number 3, if we keep number 3 in there, that we might want to put age-appropriate controversial
I agree.
issues?
Okay.
Just a controversial issue at the elementary school might be whether or not, they can't wear shorts to school. That would be a controversial issue, but, appropriate for a first grader to argue.
Or like screen timer.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Get that argument often. I'm wondering if we might change the way the end of it is worded to say, so take out resulting in and change it to encouraging the ability to make informed decisions.
District libraries. Sorry, I'm having an issue on just 2 words. Okay, so let me, oopsies on both these. I'm going to take the highlight off. There we go, it's in blue. All right, so district libraries provide faculty and students with materials that enrich and support the curriculum and meet the needs of the students and faculty served, period. Provide students with a wide range of educational materials on all levels of difficulty and appealing to a wide range of interests and in a variety of formats with diversity of appeal following the presentation of many different points of view.
Take out many ands. Take out the and.
Oh, come on.
Well, yeah. Just that language.
They have educators, right? That would help a lot. They could use us in Boise.
My pen is dead.
I'm listening.
So where it says provide students with a wide range of educational materials on all levels of difficulty, that to me means we're going to have high school books in an elementary library. So, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so yeah, age appropriate.
I feel like that varies so much though, thinking of like, I mean, man, we have elementary kids who are reading at a high school level.
Right, but the content of a high school book is not appropriate for a 3rd grader to read. And if they want to do that, they can go to the public library, but I would be hesitant to put an adult book in the hands of an 8-year-old.
Absolutely, because then we're right here on this.
Exactly. But, you know, if we stick with what we're doing right now, which is looking at the grade bands and saying, you know, for 5th grade, they have access to middle grade plus, which gets them to 8th grade level, which would be appropriate as far as content goes. And then the same for 8th graders.
Lisa, what if you I'm sorry, go ahead. I was saying, what if you put something like a wide range of educational materials on all levels of difficulty, providing, what did I say?
Provided to age appropriate.
Providing that it's age appropriate. Because you're going to get things that are going to be higher level for those kids, but it's going to be age appropriate.
But we are, I guess, when you say all levels, we already have in place this, we aren't putting adult books in elementary school. We aren't even putting them in the middle school. So we already have that in place, which takes away the all levels, because in my mind, that's all levels.
So
That's all I'm
just take
saying.
out all and put appropriate levels?
Yes.
Okay.
Or you could even just say range of levels.
Yep.
So we're talking about 2 different things, content and ability.
And level.
That's much different. So that's where I'd be concerned. There's plenty of high school material that an upper elementary student can read that's age appropriate, but it challenges their reading ability.
On all of
So that's why
levels.
No.
Materials.
Oh, I thought you said.
Okay, so
I
how would
think
we
we
like to
said-
rewrite the sentence?
It's obviously going to be pretty few, but I would need
Educational
to
materials,
not let that allow.
what did you just say?
I would take out all and put appropriate levels of difficulty.
Appropriate. Take out all and put appropriate levels.
Just the word all.
Oops.
It does, but that's how do we determine that? Is that when educators become, are able to make that determination?
Well, our librarians are already doing it. We're just, right now, all we're talking about is the school library, and it's already in place. We already aren't putting adult books.
No, yeah, we check for interest levels and reading levels when we purchase books.
It's already part of our process. It's a lot of and.
Yeah, there is.
When we say in a variety of formats, does that mean books, magazines? I mean, is...
And then you have graphic novels, which are like
Okay.
comic book style books.
ebooks.
We have my Sora. Sora has
The suggestion from over there was to take out, since it already says, in a wide range of interests, take out the variety, or yeah, with diversity of appeal, since it's already stated in a different way.
Okay. Appealing to a wide range of interests in a variety of formats.
Well, it just says it already in there, so.
Supporting the presentation of many different points of views. Different points of view. Okay. Does that read cleaner and clearer?
I just want to know, we like he did his first sentence, but don't we change an age appropriate to like a range?
Yes, you can go to
That's hard to
Yes.
quantify.
Age appropriate.
Well, I think like what's age appropriate for a gifted learner to, as far as their level of being challenged versus what, I don't know. I think it's tricky. That doesn't make right to me.
I don't know, I heard that word tossed out.
What about reading level rather than grade?
Okay.
Because a reading level can be, they can be first grade, but their reading level is at third or fourth.
Okay, so based on age appropriate
So then maybe just take out levels of difficulty.
I would keep it in because this actually
What about
aligns with
Reading level.
Reading.
Various
Oops.
sides and
Like that
issues,
stuff.
having the various sides just shows you there's
Reading levels.
sides to it.
They-
age appropriate.
Because the point was, maybe it's not necessarily age appropriate as it is skill development, because if they're more advanced, then they're not gonna read necessarily at their age level. They may be reading, if they're kinder or first, they'll be at second or third or fourth.
Right.
So,
The issue with that will be at the upper level of elementary, if we're truly looking at Lexile level, you could have a fifth grader who easily could read a high school level book, but the content isn't appropriate, so. And the content is what's gonna get us in trouble here, not the Lexile level, so.
It's not always
Just say age appropriate content.
Not appropriateness.
well, it's not spelled correct. I'll do that.
Content, and then if you wanted levels of difficulty, you could say it there, and readability.
Them on their own.
Or a range of difficulties.
Across those roads.
Would it be readability or reading ability?
Or we could say Lexile level, and if you wanted to get super specific.
No, because I don't know how many parents are gonna know what that means.
Okay,
Yeah.
reading level.
Okay.
Ability, what goes reading ability? I don't know.
Based on age appropriate content and reading ability.
I know I had a hard time with a sixth grader with a college level reading skill, finding anything that she would want to read, whether or not it was appropriate, that
Right.
challenged her abilities.
Well, I would
But-
think that
So
it's,
I'm just saying, I would like to be able to get advice, but I don't expect the school to go out and find stuff like that for me.
No, but I think with the way hands are bound, the school's hands are being bound by this, in that type of a scenario, there would have to be parent involvement. And the parent would have to be selecting the book so that the parent's already signing off. That you're not signing off, the school's not signing off, but the parents already.
I'm not having, I don't want that expectation
yeah.
to be on the school.
Right.
I just want.
Well, and it shouldn't be on you either.
If there's, well, like with my own kid, yes.
Right, okay.
Like if you could recommend something, that's one thing, but. I
The
don't-
law actually says that we can allow kids to check out books that might be harmful to them if the parent is the one that signs for it, so. So that is in the law. I would hope we wouldn't have harmful books in our schools, but in that situation, maybe it's not harmful, but you're giving permission for people to read a book that we wouldn't typically.
So provide students with a wide range of educational materials based on age-appropriate content and reading ability, appealing to a wide range of interests in a variety of formats, supporting the presentation of different viewpoints.
Yeah.
What's
Should
that?
there be an and before supporting? Yep.
Or a comment.
There's a comment after formats.
That's what I was saying. We need an end.
I don't know. We'll just
Legal sort it out, right?
go with the flow. All right. Select materials that present various sides of controversial issues, giving students an opportunity to develop analytical skills, resulting in informed decisions.
We do age-appropriate controversial issues.
I feel like we should just get rid of controversial and just say that we can address issues whether they're controversial or not.
Just various sides of issues. Just various sides of issues.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because controversial's a red flag to me. It's like,
Yes, people see that and they immediately think,
Yeah, abortion. we're gonna talk about
exactly,
abortion.
like they jump to the most extreme controversial issue.
Yep, that's awesome.
there you go.
That's much better.
Skills resulting in informed.
So maybe if we took that, changed where it says resulting in and changed it to encouraging the ability to make.
Yes,
Okay.
I like that. Or just to cross out the results.
Oh, no, you can keep it.
I-
Oh, sorry.
We're growing with
Just
it,
nitpicking.
okay. Encouraging the ability, a lot of abilities here, encouraging the ability
To make informed decisions.
to
So do we
If
want
we
to
have a
not
problem
cross
with-
off informed decisions?
Yeah.
She's trying to decide.
Well, I'm just curious if, you know, given the perception of some, if teachers are now helping students, second graders, make informed decisions, that could create some, so I'm trying to figure out how to say resulting in informed decisions, but not use those words.
Well, encouraging the ability to make it, it's not.
For critical thinking.
An educated decision, well, you already have critical
decision making.
Or just
No,
decisions.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
just decisions works
just-
really well.
maybe if we just say decisions.
Yeah.
Instead of, so that way,
So it doesn't look like we're teaching them what the information.
what to think or how to think, we're just helping them develop the skills to be able to think. Yeah, exactly.
But if, for me, doesn't informed decisions means they have it where it already stated something about critical thinking. That just, how I'm interpreting that, an informed decision means they have all the information, they've made their individual decision because they've used their critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
I feel like informed is an important piece of that.
Yeah.
They've
You don't
made
want to
it
make a random decision. You want them
Doesn't mean it's the teacher's.
We'll see what the parent input comes back on.
We're trying to avoid people
I'll tell my
leaving if you're getting mad.
I can name me.
Yeah.
Well, we'd
see.
never get an answer if we do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that's
so
such
we'll
a
put it
big
back.
piece of education.
Okay. encouraging the ability to make informed decisions.
What if
No, I agree.
would be encouraging the ability to make their own
To inform them of.
informed decisions versus
More
calculated?
possible so they
Ooh,
can decide.
no.
Or like individual.
We're not doing that.
I like the word individual. How about individual instead of informed?
Individual?
Individual decisions?
Because then it's theirs.
It's their decision.
No.
Hello, thoughts, comments?
I think informed means you put thought into it. Individual is still just my opinion, just.
Well, is it your, I mean, it might be your own opinion, but you're creating it based off of critical
The
thinking.
word individual just means my individual decision, where I think informed means I put thought into it and researched it, it's not just.
Or like individual supported. I don't know. These get so hard. It's like kind of ends with a little word.
Let's get a thesaurus open next time.
Make individual decisions. We'll go with that, we'll see what they say.
To developing decision-making abilities.
So to develop, there's a possibility. Select materials that present various sides of issues, giving students the opportunity to develop
Decision-making abilities.
Could we just stop after skills and put a period and then not go down that rabbit hole of what we should be?
What they use the critical thinking skills for, it's just we're providing them critical thinking skills.
decision-making skills. What did you say?
Yeah, just decision-making skills and then
be done.
Leave the rest of that.
But critical thinking is so important.
Right, but we leave it after skills. We just put a period and we don't put anything after that. And
Right, well, that.
Okay, so.
Critical thinking is the decision-making skill.
Yeah, I don't think a library material needs to support decision making, but the ability to think critically, and that's it. So just critical thinking skills and nothing about decision making.
Okay.
That works. Yeah, like that.
All right.
We're giving them the skills to access what they want to access and use it in how they, the parent and them deem whatever.
Okay. To develop critical thinking skills. Period. Select materials in all formats, including up-to-date, high-quality, varied literature to develop and strengthen a love of reading. Period.
Number 3
Okay. The provision of a wide variety of library materials at all reading levels supports the district's basic principle that the school in a free society assists all students to develop their talents fully so that they become capable of contributing to the future good of that society. That is what I call a fluff paragraph. Do we need it?
Yeah, I don't really talk about it.
No. Good for a speech.
Oops.
She's gonna bold it. Like,
make it bigger. In support of these objectives, okay, so we don't need that because we have no objectives now. The board affirms the principles of intellectual freedom inherent in the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States and expressed in the American Library Association's School Bill of Rights, endorsed by the American Association of School Libraries in 1969. I don't know that we've done that. Have we?
That you've reaffirmed the principles?
No, expressed in the American Library Association School Library Bill of Rights endorsed. I don't know.
I think you could stop it after the Constitution of the United States if you wanted to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We don't, and who cares where it's expressed?
Don't know.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know that. So that would be a point that I would point out. Do we want this? Although, all right, the superintendent is responsible for ensuring qualified staff select library materials. Well, the qualified staff is the librarian, correct? So, ultimate responsibility for the library rests with the board. Okay, what is the purpose of this paragraph?
I mean, I do kind of think it's speaking to their staff to the librarians, but ultimately the decisions for library materials rest with the board.
Yeah, that way I think
Yeah.
What did we say?
You have a hyphen in the A collection, they'll need to come out.
Right?
It's just part of the
Oh,
strike.
that was, yeah. Thank you.
Selected material.
Thank you.
And then the board is singular, so it should say the Board of Trustees is responsible. I know my grammar, Shannon.
She uses whom.
Board acting through the superintendent thereby delegates the authority of the selection of librarians, principals, and schools.
And then you'll get in trouble for having to look at the law.
Library materials may include but are not limited to print books, recordings, digital materials, periodicals, and newspapers, and even equipment. This selection of policy and related procedures shall apply to all types of library materials. The district school library shall adhere to district policies and procedures related to copyright.
Michelle, before we spend time right there, Melanie just asked a question, so this year.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. That's the point.
I had to get shit done real easy because I used to work at Gator.
Right, well, anything used in the classroom is supposed to be approved, because that's
But this
curriculum
would
material.
take all library work back to the board again. Gotta go, yeah.
Because it says the board is responsible for approving all library materials, so we just.
Which the board is responsible for approving. I mean, the board is still supposed to be approving anything that's used in a curricular fashion.
So I wonder if that part you just struck through maybe gets us to that without going through that, unless you want us to bring them through that process.
I guess I'm not following.
It just specifically says it's responsible for approving all selected materials, which we know statutorily you are. But right now, the way we've been doing it, we bring to the board any books that are going to be used in the classroom for instruction, but we haven't been bringing all of the library books through to the board.
You guys
because
decided
there
you
were
wanted
too
to stop
many.
doing that.
So maybe that's why that part that you struck out afterwards was in there, that the board, acting through the superintendent, thereby delegates the authority for the selection of the library materials to the principals, and the principal further delegates that authority to the librarian. So I'm just wondering if that's why that's there.
Okay. Okay, I get what you're saying.
When we started the job application process and we opted in for the library, we stopped bringing every library book for library use.
Right.
So that's just what she's asking.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I get that part. So,
I think that's most appropriate if you leave that last paragraph in that you struck.
so then,
Yeah, because you're trusting the systems in place, and then you have a system for if the book is challenged.
Right, and it's
To bring
this,
that forward.
and that language specifically delegates that authority that's up there for approving materials to these people that are identified.
I think if we take that, this, so this was previously
I feel like I might need a flow chart at this point.
right?
Break it down part by step.
Oh no! Why are you not getting rid of it? Is it, oh, maybe it's just not highlighted. That's why. But I guess I guess it's this whole board to superintendent to principal, the librarian's not back in there, but in the other policy, we're saying the librarian's entrusted with doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it that maybe because this policy states that the board entrusts the librarian with the responsibility for building and maintaining the collection of books,
And the selection will be carried out with if you finish that, it said the selection will be carried out adhering to or according to the
policies and procedures,
Yep,
right?
if you kept that in there, yeah.
So you just take that bottom paragraph?
That's what I don't know.
You're kind of redundant at that point.
But it's not, was that one in a different policy, in the other policy? Was that
Wait,
2530 or
wait,
2500?
Wait. What words are we talking about right
The
now?
ones you were just talking about.
Okay, so
we're in two different policies.
No, I know,
Okay,
because I want to make sure that they're mirroring. That's why over here I took out this whole the superintendent's responsible for, because that's not what this policy is saying.
Right.
It's saying school librarians are responsible for it. So if the librarians are entrusted with the responsibility, but the board is ultimately responsible for approving the materials, over here, I mean, we're not saying that. So, but the bottom line is the buck has to stop at the board. And if someone challenges it, then it goes through the committee and then comes back to the board for approval. So if library books, what I'm trying to help this say is that the board's entrusting the superintendent, who's going to entrust the librarians to do their job.
Yep, so
And
maybe
then-
take the principals out of the mix.
Okay. Superintendent.
Because to be perfectly honest, Len and I do not meet with the principals to talk about libraries. we meet with the librarians to talk about libraries
Okay.
and library books.
Good gravy. Okay, so does that,
That captures what we do.
okay. And that's the other part, is just trying to understand how it all is interwoven. Library materials may include, but are not limited to, print. Do we need to do that? Do we need to call this out?
I think we do because of the law, because it may not be in a book, but
Okay.
this law specifically calls out music, art, it calls it all out, yeah,
Yeah, it
plays,
says it
performances.
doesn't matter the media.
Okay, except over here, we're not calling it out, and this is library materials. We're not saying what the library materials are. What's that? Okay.
Just copy and paste that.
We didn't do definition.
We didn't add definitions over here, so then I wonder,
And you do say school library books there.
I see that and I'm thinking it needs to go to materials. So if we say library materials may include this, this selection policy, okay, well, that's, doesn't apply.
Even.
That's like really convincing, the persuasion essay.
Yeah, right, don't make it double use of and.
We're all nerds.
Is it? I can't see. Okay, perfect. All right, so at 6:30, we'll go ahead and stop.